So sensor like yeah, like I can separation to reads. Yeah.
Call our meetings to order. We have actually 6 meetings tonight, four statutory public meetings. I suppose, is it all one or is it the four
For
items?
purposes of the minutes, it's one, but for the purposes of the applications, they're individual because we treat them all the same.
Four statutory and then the regular and a regular closed session. So we're gonna get underway. Call the meeting to order at 5:30 PM. And note that all councilors present, including Councilor Andrew Connect, attending virtually. Introduction of amendments to the agenda.
Through Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Confirmation that the agenda for the statutory public meeting of August 12th, 2026 be approved as presented. Moved by Councilor Legon, seconded by Councilor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
Through Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. Application 1, staff report number 1, official plan OP01 2026 and zoning bylaw amendment Z02 2026. Applications 96 to 98 3rd Street, Hudson. The public meeting is being held pursuant to sections 17, 22, and 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, Chapter P13 as amended. The purpose and effect of the official plan amendment application, OP01 2026, is to amend the official plan and the redesignating the subject property from rural residential designation to a site-specific designation to permit the proposed duplex dwelling. The purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application Z02 2026 is to rezone the subject property from Hudson Residential HR zone to a site-specific Hudson Residential exception HR-XX
To be determined.
to be determined zone to permit the proposed duplex dwellings. The planning coordinator will confirm how notice was served to advertise the statutory public meeting.
Through my Lawrence, notice was circulated to internal staff and external bodies by email. Notice was advertised in the Sioux bulletin and on the municipal website and social media, and also sent by mail to various agencies and property owners within 120 meters of the subject property. Signs were also posted at the property.
The planning coordinator will provide a summary of the application.
Through Mayor Lawrence, an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications have been received from Sioux Local Area Aboriginal Management Board for the subject property locally known as 96, 98 3rd Street in Hudson. The subject property is currently owned by the municipality, but is proposed to be purchased by the applicant. The subject property is currently vacant. The applicant is proposing to develop the subject property with a 2-story duplex. The subject property is designated rural residential in the municipal official plan and located in the Hudson residential zone in the municipal zoning bylaw. A duplex is not a permitted use in the rural residential designation nor the Hudson residential zone. The purpose of the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications is to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw respectively to permit the proposed duplex. Specifically, the purpose and effect of the official plan amendment is to redesignate the subject property from the rural residential designation to a site-specific designation to permit the proposed duplex. The effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application is to rezone the subject property from the Hudson residential zone to a site-specific Hudson residential exception 3 zone to permit the proposed duplex. The official plan amendment application and zoning bylaw amendment application were reviewed against the provincial planning statement, official plan, and municipal zoning bylaw. The provincial planning statement is a provincial policy document that guides land use planning in the province of Ontario. All land use planning decisions must be consistent with the provincial planning statement. The provincial planning statement directs planning authorities to provide for an appropriate range of housing to meet the needs of residents by permitting all types of residential intensification. The provincial planning statement states that settlement areas shall be the focus of growth and development. The subject property is located in the Hudson settlement area. The proposed duplex represents residential intensification within a settlement area. The proposed development and proposed amendments are consistent with the relevant policies of the provincial planning statement. The official plan supports intensification through infill development on vacant lots in settlement areas. The official plan requires that development in Hudson should only occur on roads that are maintained year-round. The subject property has frontage on and access from 3rd Street, which is a year-round maintained municipal road. With regards to servicing, the official plan permits development on municipal water and individual on-site sewage disposal services in Hudson settlement area. The proposed development would be serviced with municipal water and an individual on-site septic system. The proposed amendments conform to the intent of the policies of the official plan. Based on the inclusion of 2 dwelling units in the proposed duplex, the conceptual building location and the size of the property, it is our understanding that a septic system can be sited on the subject property. At the building permitting stage, the applicant will need to demonstrate compliance with the lot and yard requirements for the Hudson residential zone.
Thank you. And the planning coordinator will read out any correspondence received from government agencies and municipal staff.
Through Mayor Lawrence, correspondence was received from MNR today, where they expressed that they have no concerns.
As the planning coordinator will read out any correspondence received from members of the public.
Through Mayor Lawrence, no comments were received.
The applicant or representative is invited to speak to the application. Is there the applicant present or a representative that wishes to speak? Seeing none, questions from members of council? No questions? Questions from members of the public. Members of the public are invited to speak to the application. The public can ask questions of clarification or seek background information, speak in support of the application, or speak in opposition to the application. All questions will be directed through the chair. It is requested that only one question be asked at a time. Please identify yourself before you ask your question so that you can be properly recorded in the minutes of the hearing. Is there anybody in the public who wishes to speak? Seeing whom, we'll move on to the conclusion. This concludes the public meeting regarding the official plan amendment application OPO 1-2026 and zoning bylaw amendment application Z02-2026. If any member of the public wishes to be notified of the decision of council in respect of the application, you must make a written request to the planning coordinator. Notice to appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal must be filed with the planning coordinator no later than 20 days from the date of the notice of decision is circulated. The notice to appeal shall be sent to the attention of the planning coordinator, and it must include the following information: reasons for the appeal and the fee as prescribed under the Ontario Land Tribunal Act in the amount of $1,100 each for the official plan amendment and the zoning bylaw amendment, payable by certified check to the Minister of Finance, Province of Ontario. Steph?
To Mayor Lawrence, given that there were no opposing comments, I would recommend that council proceed with option 1.
And shall we do that now or option 1? The council receives the planning report dated August 12th, 2026, respecting official plan amendment OPO 1-2026 and zoning bylaw amendment number Z02-2026. And the council authorizes the adoption of application number OPO 1-2026 by passing bylaw number 45-26 to amend the official plan for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux as amended, and that council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 46-26 for application number Z02-2026, being a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux as amended. Motion moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to application staff report number 2, zoning bylaw Z03-2026, 25 Fair Street. This public meeting is being held pursuant to section 34 of the Planning Act, by Resolution 1990, chapter P13, as amended. The purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application Z03/2026 is to rezone the subject property from the institutional zone to the site-specific residential type 2 exception zone to legalize an existing triplex as a permitted use. Planning coordinator will confirm how notice was served to advertise the public meeting.
Through Mayor Lawrence, notice was circulated to internal staff and external bodies by email. Notice was advertised in the Sioux Bulletin and on the municipal website and social media, and also sent by mail to various agencies and property owners within 120 meters of the subject property. Signs were also posted at the subject property.
Thank you. The planning coordinator will provide a summary of the application.
Through Mayor Lawrence, a zoning bylaw amendment application has been submitted by Joel Brent on behalf of 6529110 Manitoba Limited for the subject property locally known as 25 First Street. The property owner has extensively renovated a previously existing social service shelter to a residential triplex without a building permit or municipal consultation. The subject property is designated residential in the municipal official plan and located in the institutional zone in the municipal zoning bylaw. A triplex is not a permitted main use on the subject property in the institutional zone. The purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application is to establish a site-specific residential type 2 exception 21 zone to permit the triplex and recognize a reduced rear yard setback. The zoning bylaw amendment application was reviewed against the provincial planning statement, official plan, and municipal zoning bylaw. The provincial planning statement directs planning authorities to provide for an appropriate range and mix of housing options to meet the needs of the community by permitting and facilitating all types of residential intensification, including the redevelopment of underutilized institutional sites for residential uses. The triplex at the subject property represents the redevelopment of an institutional site for a residential use. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the relevant policies of the provincial planning statement. The subject property is located in the urban Sioux local settlement area. The official plan directs that residential development should be focused in the urban Sioux local settlement area. The subject property is designated residential. The residential designation in the municipal official plan permits a range of residential uses, including multi-unit residential dwellings, such as the triplex. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment application conforms to the intent of the municipal official plan. The effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application is to rezone the subject property from the institutional zone to a site-specific residential type 2 exception 21 zone to permit a triplex and recognize a reduced rear yard setback for the triplex. A triplex is not permitted as a main use in the institutional zone. Notwithstanding the use of the subject property, the current building has been at the property since 1996. The proposed reduced rear yard does not result in compatibility concerns between the triplex and surrounding uses. The application represents good land use planning.
Thank you. The planning coordinator will read out any correspondence received from government agencies and municipal staff.
Through Mayor Lawrence, correspondence was received from MNR, who indicated that they have no concerns with the application.
The planning coordinator will read out any correspondence received from members of the public.
Through Mayor Lawrence, none were received.
Thank you. The applicant or representative is invited to speak to the application. Is there a representative here tonight? Do they wish to speak? Seeing none, questions from members of council?
Yeah.
Councilor Tibbs.
Yeah, I just didn't hear you say something since 1996.
Yes, so through Mayor Lawrence, the building itself has been in existence at the property since 1996. What the current owner has done is that they've just extensively renovated the building to convert it from a social service shelter into a residence.
Oh, yeah, because it was built in 1984.
Yes, over the years, they've done some additions to it. So the building as it currently exists has been there since 1996.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Anything further, council? And we are questions from members of the public. Members of the public are invited to speak to the application. The public can ask questions of clarification or seek background information, speak in support of the application, or speak in opposition to the application. All questions will be directed through the chair. It is requested that only one question be asked at a time. Please identify yourself before you ask your question so that you can be properly recorded in the minutes of the hearing. Are there any members of the public present who wish to speak? Seeing none, we will go to the conclusion. This concludes the public meeting regarding zoning bylaw amendment application Z03-2026. If any member of the public wishes to be notified of the decision of council in respect of the application, you must make a written request to the planning coordinator. Notice to appeal the decisions of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal must be filed with the planning coordinator no later than 20 days from the date the notice of decision is circulated. The notice to appeal shall be sent to the attention of the planning coordinator, and it must include the following information: the reasons for the appeal and the fee as prescribed under the Ontario Land Tribunal Act in the amount of $1,100 for the zoning bylaw amendment payable by certified check to the Minister of Finance, Province of Ontario. So I think, staff, we could go to option. Motion that council receives the planning report dated August 12, 2026, respecting the zoning bylaw amendment number Z03-2026, and the council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 47-26 for application number Z03-2026, being a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux as amended. Moved by Councilor Costello, seconded by Councilor Van Breda. Any final discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Number 3 of 4 coming up.
Through your influence, just on this one, I just noticed a slight typo in the section 6.1 in the explanation. It refers to Z03. It should be Z04 in the first line.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Zoning bylaw amendment Z04-2026, 624 at Drayton Road. The public meeting is being held pursuant to section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO Chapter P13 as amended. The purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application Z04-2026 is to amend the residential shoreline exception 4 RS4 zone to recognize an additional existing fabric covered accessory structure that was constructed on the property. The planning coordinator will confirm how notice was served to advertise the public meeting.
Through Mayor Lawrence, notice was circulated to internal staff and external bodies by email. Notice was advertised in the municipal Sioux Lookout Bulletin and on the municipal website and social media, and sent by mail to various agencies and property owners within 120 meters of the subject property. Signs were also posted at the subject property.
Thank you. The planning coordinator will provide a summary of the application.
Through Mayor Lawrence, a zoning bylaw amendment application has been submitted by Joel Brent for the subject property locally known as 624 Drayton Road. The subject property is currently located in the residential shoreline exception 4 zone. The residential shoreline exception 4 zone was established through a previously approved zoning bylaw amendment application in 2018 to legalize an existing detached garage without the existence of a principal dwelling at the subject property. The current application is similar to the previously approved zoning bylaw amendment application. The current RS-4 zoning is proposed to be updated to include an additional accessory structure. The property owner has developed the subject property with an accessory structure in addition to the existing detached garage, contrary to permitted uses for the RS-4 zone. The accessory structure is covered by fabric and used primarily as a storage space. The accessory structure was built in 2024 without municipal consultation nor an issued building permit. The effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application is to amend the RS-4 zone to recognize the additional accessory structure as a permitted use. The zoning bylaw amendment application was reviewed against the provincial planning statement, the official plan, and municipal zoning bylaw. The subject property is located in the Drayton area, which is considered rural lands in the context of the provincial planning statement. Residential uses are permitted on rural lands. Although there is no principal residential dwelling on the subject property to date, the owner is intending to develop residential uses in the future at the subject property. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is consistent with the relevant policies of the provincial planning statement. The subject property is designated residential shoreline in the municipal official plan. The residential shoreline designation is characterized by shoreline residential development and existing backlot development. Permitted uses in the residential shoreline designation includes single detached dwellings and accessory uses such as detached garage and accessory structures. But however, it is worth noting that accessory uses are only permitted where a principal residential use exists. It is our understanding that the existing accessory uses are for storage of personal property. The owner is proposing residential uses in the future. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment application conforms to the intent of the municipal official plan. The effect of the zoning bylaw amendment is to permit and recognize an existing fabric-covered accessory structure on the subject property. The subject property is currently located in the RS-4 zone. The existing RS-4 zone is proposed to be updated to include permissions for a total of 2 accessory buildings and structures. If the zoning bylaw amendment application is approved, the owner will work with municipal staff to obtain a building permit and ensure that the accessory structure meets all building code requirements.
Thank you. The planning coordinator will read out any correspondence received from government agencies and municipal staff.
Correspondence was received from MNR, who indicated that they have no concerns with this application.
Thank you. The planning coordinator will read out any correspondence received from members of the public.
Through Mayor Lawrence, none were received.
Thank you. The applicant or a representative is invited to speak to the application. Is there anybody present who wishes to speak? Seeing no one, members of council, questions? Councilor Costa.
Now, a metal structure with the fabric, is that a tarp shed?
It's a huge storage structure. It's not just a shed.
So it's not just a small tarp shed, it's one of those massive
Yes.
that are more substantial?
Yes.
So those ones require a building permit?
I believe so.
These types of buildings, when they exceed 576 square feet, require a building.
Okay.
Anything further, council? Members of the public are invited to speak to the application. The public can ask questions of clarification or seek background information, speak in support of the application, or speak in opposition to the application. All questions will be directed through the chair. It is requested that only one question be asked at a time. Please identify yourself before you ask your question so you can be properly recorded in the minutes of the hearing. Are there any members of the public present who wish to speak to the application? Yes, please step forward and state your name and
Steve Bowling, resident of Drayton Road. Assume that's where we're talking about, right? Yeah, so, was the property, so this structure is not approved, but there's not a house. Do the guidelines not say that you have to build a house in order to have accessory structures first?
staff.
Through Mayor Lawrence, that is correct. And that's why the property owner has submitted the zoning bylaw amendment application to amend that section of the zoning bylaw that requires there to be a residence before you can have such accessory structures and buildings.
And they've committed to build a house, a residential on the property.
Through discussions with the property owner, they have declared their intentions of developing a residence at the property in the future.
Mr. Bowling.
So just as a second question or an extension to that question, does that mean that it's changing the area guidelines on accessory structures and people having accessory structures, or are we just talking about one specific place for a short period of time until the house is built.
I'll let staff answer, but I think it's site specific as well. Staff?
Yes, through Mayor Lawrence. So this application only approves for just that specific property. It's not changing the zoning bylaw in general, but it's only amending, the permissions for this specific property. And in also reviewing and drafting the bylaw for, this exception, we made sure to recognize that, we are only permitting what already exists, and we are not opening the door, for the property owner to have more accessory buildings or structures on the property.
Yeah, so, okay, so it doesn't affect any other properties other than that one property. But we do have regulations that don't allow something to be done, right? And I just, a general comment from me is that I think it's important. We have, and we all buy property and do property, may make decisions in terms of what we're investing in properties, et cetera, based on what the regulations and the rules are. And then, so I think it's really important we hold to those things and not allow people to just go ahead and do whatever they want on properties that not in line with what the rules are. I recognize I'm a former principal, vice principal, so I'm a rules guy, right? But I think that's important, right? Because that makes it fair for everybody. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Staff?
Through Mayor Lawrence, one thing that's worth noting is that this particular property previously was part of a much larger lot. And the previous property owner applied for a consent application to divide the property into two. So as a result of that subdivision, the detached garage came to be on this current lot, whereas the residence, remained on the other lot. So that's why there's only accessory uses on this particular lot.
So perhaps at the time of that application, it would have been a time to pick that up or?
Through Mayor Lawrence, so that was in 2018, and at the time, 2018, and at the time, the property owner applied for a zoning bylaw amendment. So that's when the exception zone, which is the residential shoreline exception 4 zone, was established to recognize that on this particular property, there exists only a detached garage.
Yeah.
So also just sort of for clarification, I certainly hear Mr. Holden's comments, but it's also important to understand that the Planning Act does provide for this process to request amendments to the existing zoning bylaw provisions on a site-specific basis. So that's built into the Planning Act. So the municipality must consider these types of applications. So just to sort of flesh out the whole picture of the Planning Act and how that's interrelated.
Anything further from the public? Seeing none. I will go to the conclusion of the public meeting regarding zoning bylaw amendment application Z04/2026. If any member of the public wishes to be notified of the decision of council in respect of the application, you must make a written request to the planning coordinator. Notice to appeal the decisions of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal must be filed with the planning coordinator no later than 20 days from the date the notice of decision is circulated. The notice to appeal shall be sent to the attention of the planning coordinator and must include the following information: reasons for the appeal and the fee as prescribed under the Ontario Land Tribunal Act in the amount of $1,100 for the zoning bylaw amendment, payable by certified check to the Minister of Finance, Province of Ontario. So we'll move on to staff. I'm going to go to option 1.
Through Mayor Lawrence, I would recommend that because this is the best way to bring this property into compliance at this time.
So council will have this motion that council receives the planning report dated August 12th, 2026 respecting zoning bylaw amendment number Z04/2026, and that council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 48-26 for the application number Z04/2026 being a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux as amended. Moved by Councilor Costco, seconded by Councilor Cassidy. Discussion. Councilor Costco.
I just like to recognize, when you build a house on a vacant piece of land, you need an accessory building or a garage, because with the cost of materials nowadays, you need some way to protect that. And it's very hard to build. I mean, people bring in those little 6x5x8 trailers or whatever, try to bring in, storage units, whatever. But this is really the ideal situation if you're building a house to store your equipment and your materials. And materials are so costly now. People are constantly stealing building materials. So I think that this is something that you're going to see more and more, that the garage goes up before the house, and it really makes sense. It does make sense when you're building something that you need that outbuilding to help you.
Anything, Councillor Timpson?
Just a comment to build a bit on what Mr. Poling is saying is that we are in a really crisis in terms of our housing, and are approving most applications for housing. We have to just be careful, and this will be something in the new official plan. We have to be careful that we are able to preserve the natures of neighborhoods in what we're doing, because we're approving a lot of housing, and we have to be just cautious that we're not sacrificing the neighborhood for expeditious housing. That's just a comment. I think we're gonna have to face that issue soon at some point.
Anything further, Council? I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to number 4. This public meeting is being held in pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act, Article 1990, Chapter P13 as amended. The purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application Z05 2026 is to rezone the subject property from the residential type 1 R1 zone to the residential type 2 R2 zone to permit the development of a quadruplex. I'm sorry, I should have introduced this. This is zoning bylaw number Z05 2026, 60 and 62 7th Avenue. The planning coordinator will confirm how notice was served to advertise the public meeting.
I'm Thierry May Lawrence. Notice was circulated to internal staff and external bodies by email. Notice was advertised in the Sioux Bulletin and on the municipal website and social media, and sent by mail to various agencies and property owners within 120 meters of the subject property. Signs were also posted at the subject property.
Planning coordinator will provide a summary of the application.
I'm Thierry May Lawrence. A zoning bylaw amendment application has been submitted by Joe Cospito on behalf of the property owner, Sioux Lookout Minoyawan Health Center, for the subject property locally known as 6062 7th Avenue. The subject property is made up of 2 separate properties that have merged into one lot as a result of an approved deeming bylaw application. The property owner is proposing to construct a quadruplex at the subject property. The property is currently located in the residential type 1 zone in the municipal zoning bylaw. A quadruplex is not included as a permitted use in the residential type 1 zone. The applicant is proposing to rezone the subject property from the residential type 1 to the residential type 2 zone to permit the proposed quadruplex. The zoning bylaw amendment application was reviewed against the provincial planning statement, official plan, and municipal zoning bylaw. The provincial planning statement provides policy direction on matters of provincial interest related to land use planning. All land use planning decisions must be consistent with the provincial planning statement. The provincial planning statement directs local planning authorities to support residential intensification in settlement areas. The proposed quadruplex represents residential intensification within the urban Sioux Lookout settlement area. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the relevant policies of the provincial planning statement. The subject property is designated residential in the municipal official plan. A range of residential uses, including multi-unit residential development, are permitted in the residential designation. The municipal official plan directs that residential development should be focused within the urban Sioux Lookout settlement area, where municipal services are available. The proposed quadruplex is located within the urban Sioux local settlement area and will be serviced by municipal water and sewage. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment application conforms to the official plan. The subject property meets the minimum lot area and lot frontage requirements for the proposed residential type 2 zone. Further, the proposed quadruplex meets the minimum lot and setback requirements for the residential type 2 zone.
Thank you. The planning coordinator will read out any correspondence received from government agencies and municipal staff.
Through Mayor Lawrence, correspondence was received from MNR, who indicated that they have no concerns.
Thank you. The planning coordinator will read out any correspondence received from the public.
Through Mayor Lawrence, there were none.
The applicant or representative is invited to speak to the application. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak?
Mayor Lawrence, my name is Joe Casino. I'm an applicant on behalf of the Memorial Health Center and I've been that.
Council, questions? Councilor Van Breda.
And the question I have is that, so is the hospital building this to build housing for their employees?
They are, just staff or the representative, would you like? Yeah.
That is correct. Yes, and our staff, professional staff.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
It is the empty lot at the entrance to the hospital.
Yeah. Anything further, council? I just have a question. When I got by that site, it seems like it's just a single lot and are they small, narrower lots there, 60 and 62?
It is two lots.
It is two lots.
One of them is mostly in a ditch.
Okay,
So
so what appears to be Municipal Boulevard is actually part of that lot.
so that's why
You raise an interesting question. How will the drainage be handled? And that's part of the design process then.
it is part of our design process. Yeah.
Thank you. Anything further, council? So we are now members of the public are invited to speak to the application. The public can ask questions of clarification or seek background information, speak in support of the application or speak in opposition to the application. All questions will be directed through the chair. It is requested that only one question be asked at a time. Please identify yourself before you ask your question so that you can be properly recorded in the minutes of the hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? None. This concludes the public meeting regarding zoning bylaw amendment application Z05-2026. If any member of the public wishes to be notified of the decision of council in respect of the application, you must make a written request to the planning coordinator. Notice to appeal the decisions of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal must be filed with the planning coordinator no later than 20 days from the date the notice of decision is circulated. The notice to appeal shall be sent to the attention of the planning coordinator, and it must include the following information: the reasons for the appeal and the fee as prescribed under the Ontario Land Tribunal Act in the amount of $1,100, each for the official plan amendment and the zoning bylaw amendment, payable by certified check to the Minister of Finance, Province of Ontario. I'll go with option one. That council receives the planning report dated August 12, 2026, respecting zoning bylaw amendment number Z05-2026, and the council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 49-26 for application number Z05-2026, being a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the municipality of Sioux as amended. Moved by Councilor Lego, seconded by Councilor Timpson. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And confirmatory bylaw, bylaw number 54-26, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the municipality of Sioux, August 12, 2026 statutory public meeting be read the first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councilor Van Breda, seconded by Councilor Lego. All in favor? Carried. And that concludes the statutory public meetings. And we'll now call the regular council meeting for August the 12th to order at 6:10 p.m. Welcome, everybody. And as we start the meeting, I think I'll just take a moment to acknowledge the the wonderful work of all the volunteers, all the event organizers and committee for the Blueberry Festival just concluded, and I think it was a very successful event. Certainly all over town, every day for 10 days. It was, I think, a great event this year. So congratulations to the organizers. Thank you to all the volunteers and the people who promoted and supported it, and for all of the committee who attended. Introduction of amendments to be done.
A few new ones, yes, arising from the statutory public meeting. So we will, I recommend adding item 7.6, official plan amendment 01/2026 and zoning bylaw amendment that's related to the SLAM application. As well, related to that application, under item 10, we would add bylaw numbers 45/26 and 46/26. Next would be item 7.7, zoning bylaw amendment application numbers at 03/2026 for 25 Bear Street. And under item 10, we would be adding the bylaw number 47/26. Next would be item number 7.8. That would be relating to zoning bylaw amendment applications at 04/2026. That's the 624 Drayton Road. And as well, under item 10, we would be adding bylaw number 48/26. And finally, item 7.9 would be with respect to zoning bylaw amendment applications at 05/2026. And that is the 60 and 62 7th Avenue, Minneyalan complex. And finally, under item 10, we will be adding bylaw number 49/26.
Thank you. So could I have a motion that the agenda for the regular council meeting of August 12th be approved as amended? Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Timpson. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
A few mere words, I have them.
We have a motion that the minutes of the July 15th, 2026 regular council meeting, July 23rd, 2026 special council meeting, annual hydro shareholders meeting, and the July 23rd, 2026 special council meeting be adopted as presented. Moved by Lego, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And determination of items regarding separate discussion. Item 7.1, fireworks regulatory bylaw. Simpson. And in 7.2, I think we need to lift that for decision. Item 7.3, implementation of traffic and parking control bylaw. And 7.4, creation of the Sioux Community Beautification Committee.
Sorry, I had a question on 7.2. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's been.
Yeah, that's already been left.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
And 7.5, creation of the Sioux Museum Committee. And 7.6.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, let's put that in.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
we got lifted, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I go through that in a moment, yep. 7.6, zoning bylaw, slime. 7.7, 25 Fair Street. 7.8, 624 Drayton Road. 7.9, 60 and 62 7th Avenue. So we have lifted item 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, and 7.4, and 7.5. Oh, 7.1 through 7.5. And we'll have a motion. Adopt the items not requiring separate discussion, item 7.6, 7.7, 7.8, item 7.9. Moved by Councilor Van Breda, seconded by Rothman. Favor? Carried. And we'll start with item 7.1. The council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 53-26, being a bylaw to regulate the use of fireworks within the municipality of Sioux County. And further, the council approves the set fine schedule bylaw number 53-26, being a bylaw to regulate the use of fireworks within the municipality of Sioux County, and authorizes submission to the Ministry of the Attorney General for approval. Moved by Councilor Van Breda, seconded by Councilor Timpson, and starting the discussion, Councilor Timpson.
Um, Yeah, it was a fairly long bylaw, so I may have missed some nuances in it. But it seems to me that there should be a permit for July, in July, given that it's right in the midst of our fire season. And even if there isn't a fire ban, I think the town should be able to make that judgment as to whether or not it is safe on July 1st.
Chief.
And also given the fact that consumer fireworks seem they don't need a permit at all.
Fire chief, yeah.
So through Mayor Lawrence, we did look at a possible restriction on all fireworks. That was one of the suggestions that the CEO presented in July. After a lot of deliberation, looking at similar bylaws in surrounding municipalities, the three exemptions we made to not have a permit seemed to give us a pretty good balance of people's freedom to enjoy fireworks, to celebrate certain holidays without needing a permit. And we've put provisions in the bylaw that if it was a bad fire season, maybe not RFZ bad from the MNR, but any fireworks will not be allowed if we decide to put a municipal fire ban on. So in a bad year with really dry conditions, we can institute a municipal ban, which will deny all fireworks to be set off within the municipality. We really want to try and give a little bit of flexibility to people who enjoy fireworks, who like to celebrate those key holidays, while limiting the use outside of those very limited number of dates.
Councilor Van Breda.
I have a question about enforcement because so the permits are needed for consumer fireworks, but again, the people who are laying these off, are not going to get a permit. And it says here that who doesn't follow the right procedures, it will be fined by the Provincial Offences Act. So let's say after this is passed and it's a dry summer, somebody's laying off fireworks at Rotary Park. So would the people they call bylaw, do they call OPP? What should be the right process for enforcement of this?
So bylaw will have the opportunity or the right to enforce any municipal bylaws. Once we have a bylaw in place, we can take this back to the OPP, and they are in support of this. We had a preliminary discussion with them ahead of the bylaw, but we have to have the law in place for the OPP to be able to enforce it. So it would be both. Part of the problem we've had this summer is that there is no bylaw, there is no fire officer working at 3 a.m. To respond to these issues, but the OPP they're on shift 24/7, but didn't have a document and the backing that they needed to enforce this. So this will allow for enforcement by both agencies, whoever is available to respond to the incident.
Okay, so then would a person call 911 or would they call the 1-800 number for OPP? Like what should be the best way of doing
We
that?
will flesh out with the OPP in discussions after once we have a document that they can reference back to.
Okay.
It's the fail safe and our all fall back to is always 911. That gets you the quickest response. Outside of business hours, the number to detachment is not guaranteed to get a result efficiently.
Okay.
I believe I read in the report that you had consulted with the OPP in preparation of this report.
Yes.
Mr. Cassidy.
I'm, for me, I kind of, I don't agree with the notion of you need it for these days, but you don't need it for these days. If the intent or the concern is protection of the community and safety, then it just doesn't jive with me. My thought is we have a fire permit or a burn permit in place. Why isn't this a component of our burn permit? Establish some best management practices that speak to where, when, how, safety conditions that need to be in place if you're to use fireworks. And that's all. This whole to email the fire chief 7 days before you want to set off fireworks. I just feel like that's not the best use of staff time to handle that. I think there are other ways to look at incorporating this to the burn permit that we already have. That would make it a lot less onerous for the public and for staff.
Through Mayor Lawrence, Joe, 7 days to email the fire chief. It was 30 days. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I saw 30 and I saw 7 somewhere. Sorry,
I'm
misquoting.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the 30 days
Yeah.
was what we changed them all to.
Yeah, so through New Orleans, so part of the reason we need to have a separate bylaw is because the bylaw that governs fire permits doesn't contemplate any of this. So we could merge the two bylaws together, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend because they have separate purposes. As part of public education, we'll be letting the public know the appropriate setup and parameters for using fireworks as well as part of that public education process. And so what we were trying to avoid was having individual property owners, residents having to reach out to the municipality for a permit, because right now we're only permitting the professional grade ones, the pyrotechnic ones, and the ones for, and then we're allowing people to have personal fireworks on those limited days, and that's it. Other than that, they're not allowed to have them at all. Is what we're
Oh, I
proposing.
misread that. I apologize.
Yeah, so through Mayor Lawrence, a little bit of clarification. The difference between the fireworks that we buy at the Home Hardware, Giant Tiger, the Wellington, wherever we sell fireworks in town, those are what we call consumer grade. They typically don't shoot as high. They're not as loud. They're not as involved with them. For comparison, something like the Canada Day celebration the Lions put on, we use display grade fireworks, and there's already a permitting process in place for any agency that operates display fireworks. So them to have to get a permit from the chief fire official is not another step or a huge hurdle for them. It's something they're expecting. And honestly, when they come to Stoke, they're surprised that we didn't have this in place already.
Councilor Gibson.
Yeah, and just to clarify, so my next door neighbor wants to do fireworks for their baby's birthday. They can at any time?
No,
They can't. They can only do it on the first day.
The only time they can do it is 3 days before July 1st, 3 days after July 1st, the Saturday immediately before or after the recognized Diwali celebration, December 31st, New Year's Eve. That's it.
And then if they do want to any other time, they have to get the permit.
No, they can't.
They
No,
don't?
there is no,
There
they
is.
just can't. So
Okay, so who needs the permit then on
July 1st would be the Lions Club because they're issuing display fireworks, which is a grade higher than what you would buy in the stores.
Yeah, but I thought I said 4.1, no permit for July 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we're saying. Members of the public, just mom, pop,
Or never to the public.
you don't have to get a permit, but the only time you can set it off is those dates. So
3 dates, 3
the
times.
Canada Day dates,
Yeah.
Diwali, and New Year's Eve. That's the only time
No
individual
permit.
residents will be able to set off fireworks.
And fire and residents at my neighbor and so on. Okay. So who needs a permit then? If it says
The people who do display like the Lions
the
Club,
big,
for
the
example,
big time stuff.
big stuff, yeah.
Okay.
And anyone who comes in, like, let's say we have a concert and they have pyrotechnics as part of the
Okay.
stage show, they would require this as well.
Okay, got it.
So just to be clear, through you, Mayor Lawrence, we are significantly limiting the ability of people to
Mhm,
use fireworks as to look out on a recreational basis.
yeah.
Councillor Costi.
One of the big times that we use fireworks is graduation, but hopefully the days around July 1st. Like it won't, they'll have to delay it, but they could have that celebration 3 days before July 1st, like the 28th of June instead of the 25th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really like this. Like, I think it's people have a right to celebrate on these certain times. It's very simple and people aren't being disrupted for the rest, just every little simple little occasion. Yeah.
Councillor Lehman.
And this is just within the municipality boundaries. So if they want to buy and they're going out to the camping or,
Yeah, if they're outside of the 525 square kilometers, that is Sioux Lookout, then they have to deal with the crown.
Like fire.
I was trying to find it in the bylaw here. So the prohibit of selling the consumer grade fireworks, how does that work out again? Sorry, like I was trying to find it in the bylaw, but I couldn't find it. So like,
People can still buy them, they just can't set them off.
but like, I'm wondering, would it be better if saying during a fire ban, you can't buy them at all? Like during a fire ban?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, that's an option. That's going to be a lot harder to enforce. We talked about staff time and effort to around and block the retailers that sell. They have a right to, some people have a right to buy. Maybe you're buying them to go outside municipal boundaries. I
I
think
mean, like a fire, like if I go out west of Hudson, do a firework, and I'm like, whoops, it gets way out of hand, and then now it's our problem now to put it out, That'd be easier.
Then you're just suggesting.
But if it goes into, if it goes into our boundaries, maybe that, then maybe it would be easier just to ban it at the sale, saying there's a fire ban, you can't buy fireworks in Sioux Lookout.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, so just building on what our emergency services manager has said, that would then require, so anytime during a fire ban, in order to enforce that, staff would have to go to every retail place in Sioux Lookout that sells fireworks to ensure they're not offering them for sale. That would be a considerable imposition on staff's time, especially when they're looking at trying to deal with other matters during a fire ban.
through you, Mayor Lawrence, the bylaw as we've written it, regulating the discharge of fireworks accounts for not setting them off in this valley. And if we were to prohibit the sale of fireworks as our sole means, you could still bring fireworks from say Dryden or Thunder Bay with you up to Sioux Lookout and set them off because you didn't buy them here, but there's no discharge bylaw in place. So I strongly feel the way we've approached this gives us the most regulatory control over the issue.
Councillor Cassidy.
I think I must have had scrolled down to the wrong subject or the wrong section when I read that. I don't know how we're going to tying into enforcement of this if there's people running around or people at night shooting them off at 3 o'clock in the morning or anything like that. People that maybe downtown or wherever. How are we going to catch the people that's like, okay, who shot it off? Who did this? And then the whole public can't use them for the entire year because of that. Like, I don't know. I think it's very restrictive. I think it's a little over the top. I don't know that I agree with it. So.
Councillor Costi.
Isn't this the way it used to be? It was always like this until recently. Like when we grew up, fireworks were very restricted. They just became commonplace in the last, I'd say, 10 years. They were so cost prohibitive. It wasn't something that people did every weekend. That habit has just started. It's new. It was restricted for most of our lives, like my life, most of my life, So I think being able to have fireworks 3 times a year as a family is a great thing. Like you don't need to do fireworks every weekend at the expense of pets and neighbors and children and shift workers. Like there's times that's appropriate and you can do it. Yeah.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, there are still ways that a group that wants to have fireworks outside of the 3 permitted days can work with the municipality, can work with the supplier. If there's a big, say the hospital has their 100-year celebration, want to do fireworks, there's a way to have a company come into town, obtain a permit, get it approved, and have your display if all the parameters are met to safety and keeping the municipal risk as low as possible. There is an avenue for that, but we get a little more oversight and control of it.
Yes, so through Mayor Lawrence, yes, Sioux did have a regulatory fireworks bylaw in place until 2001, and it was rescinded at that time. And now, in light of council's request, we had brought a new one back. Also, this is what we proposed is in pretty much in line with what you're seeing across the region in northwestern Ontario. In fact, a little less restrictive than a couple of other communities. So in terms of how we've put it together.
I think from my point of view, this is addressing several issues. One is the fire danger, which is ever more important for us to do what we can do in dry. Every summer seems to have that as a danger. It's also responding to, I think, complaints from the public, numerous complaints. And I think that the random setting off of fireworks is beyond an annoyance. It's disruptive to people, to families, and to pets. I think, have we got it perfect? I think this is a good bylaw. Is it perfect? No, and we can, it can be tweaked as we move along with it. Will enforcement be difficult? Absolutely, but there's no enforcement if there's no bylaw. So this is a good start. And I think the police maybe will be involved a bit more than bylaw, because many of these things happen at night, when weekday nights, any night, it's random. When bylaw isn't working, we don't have staff for 24/7, but the police are on, and it will be a police response. Councillor Lake.
How will this bylaw translate to policing, charging, so on?
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, the OPP do have the authority to enforce penalties that are created under the Provincial Offences Act, which these are. So they can charge them just the same as our bylaw officer can with these fines that we've established.
And the police follow our bylaw regarding noise between 11 and
So that will be another conversation that we will have. We haven't had as many complaints about that one.
Anything further, Council? Staff, any final comments?
I think other than through you, Mayor, wants to say that, this, as you suggested, this is a jumping off point. And, I think we see how things go over the next, 12 months or so. And if there are any serious concerns with the bylaw, that's one of the great things about bylaws, they can be amended. So.
Councillor Cassidy.
Call for a recorded vote.
Sure.
Thank you.
Jimson.
Rather than voting, I'd really like to take this back and review it again. It's fairly long, and, there's some things in there that I didn't quite catch. I'd like to see it deferred to the next meeting.
Staff, how do I?
So through your Mayor Lawrence, there you will need to take a vote on a motion to defer.
Just simply, all in favor of a motion to defer? Defeat.
And so yes, so sorry, are you ready to
Yep,
call
I'm
the question?
ready. I'll call the question, and it's a recording vote, so CAO will run the show.
Through your Mayor Lawrence, thank you. So Councillor Costco.
In favor?
Thank you. Councillor Timpson.
No.
Opposed? Councillor Van Breda.
In favor.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy. Opposed. Thank you. Councillor Lego.
In favor.
And Councillor Angelini?
Yeah, in favor.
Thank you. And Mayor Lawrence.
In favor.
Very good, Mayor Lawrence. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor and 2 opposed.
Motion carried. Thank you. Right. Yeah, on to 7.2. The council received the report dated August 12th, 2026, regarding the recommendations to facilitate the removal of the holding H symbol applied to the residential shoreline exception 11 holding RS 11H at 788 Highway 72 in the municipal zoning bylaw number 85-18 as amended. Moved by Rita, seconded by Councilor Legon. And that's it. Catherine, can you give us an options?
Through Mayor Lawrence, I'm just gonna kind of go through a bit of a breakdown of the events over the past couple of years with this application. So this process with the applicant started in September of 2023 with their request to purchase the shoreline. Municipal records appeared to show the shoreline as a crown reserve instead of a municipal right-of-way. On December 8th, 2023, the MNRF confirmed that the shoreline was indeed a municipal right-of-way. In order for the applicant to purchase the shoreline right-of-way, a zoning bylaw and official plan amendment was needed to be completed. This included the requirement for a fish habitat study or environmental impact statement due to the proximity to the fish spawning area. The requirement for the amendments in the fish habitat study was shared with the MTO and the realtors selling the property in 2022. During 2022, staff recommended to potential purchasers of the property who came in to speak with us about the required amendments and fish habitat study was to include this as a condition of the purchase to complete the amendments and study prior to purchasing the property, just to ensure that the property could be utilized for residential purpose prior to purchasing. The current applicant provided an application for a zoning bylaw amendment in late November of 2023. At the time, the municipality was without a planning coordinator. MHBC, the municipal planning consultants, prepared and sent the applicant a memo on December 21st, 2023. The application was considered incomplete since an official plan amendment and the fish habitat study were also required as part of the overall amendment to rezone the property to residential from open space. The memo provided additional requirements to proceed with the amendments. Staff followed up with the applicant on December 27th, 2023, outlining again the next steps and suggested that the results of the fish habitat study will likely include some type of restrictions or limitations for the development of the property. A virtual meeting was held with the applicant on January 22nd, 2024 to discuss the applications. The applicant stated that they did not agree with and that they did not want to proceed with the fish habitat study. Staff discussed this with MHBC and responded to the applicant on January 23rd, 2024. Staff would bring forward the amendments applications without a fish habitat study. This was based on the applicant's assertion that the new dwelling and septic field will be located outside of the 120-meter setback to the fish spawning area. In order to recommend approval of these amendments, staff required that the 120-meter buffer be confirmed and staked by a licensed surveyor. Council reviewed and approved the official plan and zoning bylaw amendments at the May 15th, 2024 council meeting. Since a fish habitat study or EIS was completed, the approval included a hold on the property within the 120-meter buffer to the fish spawning area. This limited the ability to develop within this area. In order to be able to lift the hold, the fish habitat study or EIS must be completed, and any mitigation measures or recommendations listed in the report must be complied with. The applicant wasn't supportive of the hold and indicated that their lawyer would be getting involved. A completed environmental impact study was received from the applicant on October 31st, 2025. Staff reviewed the EIS and noted the recommended mitigation measures included in the report. These are summarized as follows: developing an 80-meter area of concern and maintaining the existing 45-meter vegetative buffer on the northern aspects of the site. No development to occur along the shoreline or in the 45-meter vegetative buffer along the northern edge of the property. Incorporating low-impact development techniques for stormwater management, such as a berm or rainwater garden, placing topsoil and seeding the exposed gravel areas within the 80-meter area of concern. Any new development within the 80-meter area of concern would be similar to the existing approach using prefabricated structures. Any surface grading to be done to ensure that the drainage remains on site and does not exceed the capacity of the berm or rain garden. Staff advised the applicant of the need to complete a zoning bylaw amendment to incorporate the mitigation measures listed in the EIS, in particular the 80-meter area of concern, and permitting limited above grade type development as per the provided EIS. Rezoning the 45-meter vegetative buffer to environmental protection EP in order to prevent any development from taking place in this area. The applicant was not supportive of this approach and feels that all requirements have been met to lift the hold. If the provided EIS had showed that there was no risk to the fish spawning area, then the hold could be lifted without the need for a zoning bylaw amendment. Lifting the hold is still a process that needs to be approved by council, and there's a fee associated with this. In this case, the EIS does show that there is a risk to the fish spawning area, which is why they included the mitigation measures to help limit this risk and still allow for development of the property. The applicant recently forwarded an email to staff and council from the consultant who prepared the report, which further supports staff recommendation to complete the zoning bylaw amendment and incorporate the measures listed in the EIS. Staff have on numerous occasions explained the reasons for the EIS and the resulting need to complete a zoning bylaw amendment to remove the hold and to support further development in the manner that limits the impact on the adjacent spawning area. On January 12th, 2026, staff contacted the applicant and suggested that they could pursue the zoning bylaw amendment and request that council lift the hold without including staff recommendations to include the 80-meter area of concern and the 45-meter environmental protection along the shoreline. The applicant was made aware that staff would recommend that council not approve the amendment without incorporating the mitigation measures listed in the provided report. Staff did clarify that council is the decision-making authority for these applications and not staff. It is staff recommendations that the holding provision applied to the zone of the subject property be removed while implementing the proposed site mitigation measures listed in the EIS through a zoning bylaw amendment.
Council discussion. Council Benson.
I know that sounds very complicated, simplifying it. So if they build a rainwater garden, which is what they would be compliant.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, they've already built a berm and have kind of done some of these surface works to help limit erosion and improve on the drainage. In order to lift the hold, staff is recommending that we incorporate the other measures in the environmental impact statement, which was the 80-meter area of concern and the EP zone along the shoreline.
They don't have anything built in the 80-meter, do they?
Through Mayor Lawrence, I don't believe so.
So then wouldn't they have the 80 meters then?
Through Mayor Lawrence. So just to clarify, essentially, the recommendation for the 80-meter area of concern, the 45-meter vegetative is we need to incorporate that into the zoning bylaw. That's sort of that's the last step in this process, is to incorporate those requirements into the zoning bylaw, and in doing so, we can remove the hold.
But presently those areas exist. So it's just paperwork then?
Yes, this is about completing a zoning bylaw amendment application to have this in the zoning bylaw, that we have this 80 meter area of concern and the 45 and the other 45 meter area. of
So
protection.
basically, everything is compliant on the building site.
Yes,
They've done everything they need to do except file a piece bigger.
correct.
So they just need to file a piece bigger.
Complete the zoning bylaw application, yes. So we have to, in order to remove the hold, we have to process another zoning bylaw amendment to provide for the 80, because right now the 80 meter is being recommended, but it doesn't exist on paper anywhere. And so in order to capture that, that's why we have to do the zoning bylaw amendment to put that as a site specific requirement for that lot.
Okay, so can you explain to us why that's not happening? Do you know
Yeah.
why it's not happening?
Through Mayor Lawrence, the applicant feels she's met all the requirements of the original hold and feels the hold should just be lifted.
Being taxed or.
Excuse me, I'll come to the public when, it's at the council table right now. Councilman Brady.
Then after we agree to remove the hold, we're done? Or like, what else has to be done for this person to be, we can put this to bed? That's what I want to know, is how much more longer, because it's been almost 4 years, right? What's next? After the hold is done?
I think both staff have said CAO and
This is the last.
zoning bylaw amendment that includes the 80 meter zone and the 45 meters. And then it's incorporated in paper. Council Nathan.
Yeah, so that 80 meter zone, there's a chunk of it that is treed from the shoreline up, which is 45 meters. And then there's 35, which is in the TPT report, which makes it 80 meters. So the 35 meters is basically where the hold is. So they want to rezone that 35 meters. So it says that you can put a prefab structure on it. So the hold will be removed. But staff also recommends that 45 meter vegetation zone between the shoreline be rezoned as well to environmental protection to protect the fish habitat, which in the TPT engineer report, they state that they went to the Ontario Geo Hub, and it states that that is a fish sensitive habitat zone. So even in the report that's been given to us by the engineer that the proponent hired, it states that, yes, that's a fish habitat zone. It's a lot. I've read the report and the staff report like 6 times to wrap my head around. So.
Council Simpson.
Yeah, what is the purpose behind it needing to be a prefab with no basement?
Staff.
Through Mayor Lawrence, based on the report, just to limit kind of the impact to the ground. In essence, when you're digging and excavating, it could cause erosion and runoff into the water there, because there's quite a slope down the lake there. So I guess it's allowing development, but limited to kind of above surface type of development.
Council Nathan.
I think that was also recommended in the TPT engineering report, that in that 35 meters, that once the hole's removed, that they could put a structure there or put grass or whatever. So I actually was invited out and I did a walkabout with them. Currently, if we had the EP zone, environmental protection zone for that 45 meters, that would also include the berm they have. And then they also have set up geotech barrier fencing just north of that on their property as well. So there's multiple layers to stop any erosion and leaching, because there's a 3-degree slope on that northeast corner. And that was the issue that the engineering found as well, that we need to protect this section on the northeast corner, because that's where the leaching or erosion can happen. So they've built probably a 2 or 3 foot high berm, 2 or 3 feet deep. And they've planted on it. There's wildflowers growing on it. So that will continue, that'll also compact that area. So they'll reduce erosion from the berm itself. And then they put an added barrier of geotech fencing to stop any more runoff. So my concern is just having that whole 45 area because it goes right onto their property. But that'll be for us to discuss whether it's 45 or it's 35 to the property line. And then it's all RS XX or whatever to be determined.
Councillor Simpson.
Yeah, so the main issue is basement. Does it have to be, could you not just put up your own, build your own house without a basement?
That's what they've done.
Why does it have to be prefab?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, these were the recommendations of the environmental impact statement. I can't speak to what their, I guess their consideration is. Yeah, like you could still frame a house and build it at grade. You could build the garage with a concrete slab. I guess excavating, they have concerns that there's an increased risk of promoting erosion or impacting the site. And they,
Councillor Nick.
I think we're in this situation because the previous owner refused to even do any of this stuff. So the onus was put onto the new property owner. And that has created years of, oh, what's going on? And I didn't realize when I bought this property that all these things needed to be checked off. But because there is that habitat there, we're legislatively, the onus is on us to make sure that these steps are in place. And it's unfortunate that it's created confusion, even with us sitting around the table trying to wrap our heads around this confusion. There's been, animosity because you're only for the last 2 years, you could only use 40 or 50% of your property. So.
Councillor Johnston.
But basically, it's just failure to file a piece of paper at this point. Like all the work has been done. Is that not correct? Yeah.
Through Mayor Lawrence, yes.
So all the work has been done. The only barrier is that we need a piece of paper filed.
Yeah, we need to process a zoning bylaw.
So it's come to us, statutory public meeting.
Yes.
We need bylaw amendment. Councillor Nick.
So again, for us to contemplate is whether the EP recommendation the recommendation, there's a 45-meter buffer of vegetation. So did the TPT recommend that be? Okay, so. Okay, yeah. I just wanted to double check on that.
But just to be clear, but the owner is not disputing that. They're fine with that.
I'm not sure if they're disputing that.
They just don't want to file the paperwork. They don't want to pay the fee a second time or? Yeah.
Well, the whole can be removed through the process of the zoning bylaw amendment. That's where it's at. No physical work needs to be done.
Yeah.
Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I just, is this proposal any different from what the owner is suggesting at this point?
Which proposals are
Not, sorry.
staff?
through you, Mayor Lawrence, as far as I'm aware, the owner would like it if council would just lift the hold. Because she has completed the environmental impacts.
So that's the decision for council tonight is do you follow the process and follow staff's report and recommendation and it's not up to staff to, we can never ask staff to interpret and fudge on essentially legal and statutory requirements. If we do, then we're slipping down the slope of coercion, corruption, whatever. It's up, if council decides to waive stuff, then consider it seriously what you're doing and what slippery slope you're sliding. Go ahead, Councilor Lehman.
Yeah, well, most of the recommendations came out of the engineer report. So I would vote to remove the hold tonight.
Yeah. if we vote to remove the hold, are we saying to legal precedent, now we know it's just a final amendment?
Well, if council chooses to remove the hold without implementing any of these provisions, then there's no way to there's no legal way to enforce those provisions.
If these 45-meter zones and 80-meter zones, if they're not in a zoning bylaw amendment, they're not anywhere. They can be ignored. They just don't exist.
Through Mayor, let's just add to that. So removing the hold would still require a subsequent report to council and a decision to be made by council to lift the hold.
Yeah.
If you said here, I'm not in favor of removing the hold for the, I think it's, when we have staff, professional staff making recommendations, listen to them, and all the requirements have been done. The engineering reports these requirements weren't created by staff. These were created by statutory and legal requirements. There they are. And to bring them into force, if we're ignoring the recommendations or the requirements, we're ignoring the 45-meter zone, the 80-meter zone, if we don't have the zoning bylaw amendment. There's nowhere where that can be enforced. And then we are the ones who are, I would say, culpable and responsible. Councilor Levin.
No, yeah, staff is asking, the recommendation is to remove the hold with these in place to create the new zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can vote on that tonight.
So through you, Mayor Mullins, yes, regardless, we have to either bring back a bylaw to remove the hold without the requirements or with the requirements. Either way, that is the next step after tonight.
So we can do it with the requirements, everything will be reported and it will be in place now.
Yes.
So we can remove the hold, is that?
Sorry, I'm just suggesting either way, the hold won't be removed tonight. It will require, we're seeking direction from council on what bylaw to bring and what staff report to bring next month. Either bring the bylaw that enshrines the recommendations of the engineer's report into the zoning bylaw, or we bring a bylaw to remove the hold without enshrining those requirements. We're seeking council direction on that.
To enshrine the requirements still requires the zoning bylaw amendment.
Correct.
As a subsequent step.
So either way, a bylaw has to be passed.
Can that be done tonight?
No.
No, okay. So, yeah.
But we can give direction to, we can pass a bylaw that
Or you can direct staff to bring back the zoning to whichever way you wish to proceed, but ultimately the applicant will need to make that application and bring that zoning bylaw forward if you wish to enshrine the engineering recommendations in the zoning bylaw.
before I ask you to suggest a motion for, I'm going to go to the public. I believe that Ms. Chevrolet is here and had her hand raised before. Do you still wish to speak?
Yes, so it seems to be very unclear when we're talking about the 80 meters. It's not the depth of the property, it's the length of the actual fish habitat that could potentially be connected to my property. You guys are looking at the depth, you're not looking at the length. That fish habitat is actually 140 meters in length, but only 80 meters is actually attached to said 788 Highway 72. The rest goes underneath the bridge. Has nothing to do with me. And if you look at the slope, and all MTO did right beside my property is 150% slope to the lake. So we have 110% of everything off our highway went right into our fish habitat. You guys are worried about what I'm doing on 35 meters. You want to take 35 meters and put a EPA when it's a miscommunication on reading that report. My suggestion is to hire an engineer to interpret the report. It's 80 meters is the actual area of the shoreline on that corner of property that I own. It runs this way in the channel, not depth wise. 45 meters, I don't own. That is the municipal lands. Absolutely, I wanted it protected environmentally. It stops people from having fires, from bringing garbage in, walking past, all these things. And it actually stops the noise because the amount of noise in that channel is absolutely ridiculous. Fireworks going off at Frog Rapids, everything. I get all the highway noise. So again, interpretation of this actual report has to come from an actual licensed engineer to understand, because I can read it 100 times. I've specifically asked him this 80 meters, and he said it is the length that's actually attached to the actual legal aspect of my property, not the depth. I did my berm. If you look in the report I gave you, there's a little red area up at the top, north side of the property, close to the MTO. He only wanted a berm half the size of what I put. I put bigger because when I seen what MTO did, I wanted no part of that. I put my own. That's what the extra geotag. And yeah, I planted wildflowers all along there. And my intent actually is just to leave it green space right now. RTM is for future when I decide to sell it, because I'm not going to live my whole life there. It's eventually going to be for sale, which is very lucrative when it's called resale value, which will only up the value in Sioux code.
Councillor David. Thank you, Mr. Ray.
I had the same question because I was confused about it. And I phoned Lindsay Davidson, but he never returned I phoned him 2 days ago. He never returned my call because I had the same question. Was it east-west, or are you talking north to south? What Ms. Chevrier is saying is it's east-west along the shoreline, not going into her property. So we need to get the right answer. So if it's east-west, then these zones that are prescribed have no meaning.
Staff, any comments here?
Through Mayor Lawrence, I guess when I look at the TBT engineering site plan, it would, in my mind, based on their legend, that it shows that 80 meters is north-south versus east-west.
If we're being told that's not it, then we are potentially putting ourselves up for legislation or not legal action. So we need to be careful where we're treading right now. And I would maybe like staff to get a hold of Mr. Davidson and get a proper, if it's north-south, then it's north-south. If it's running along the shoreline to protect the habitat. So we need to get that answer before we can make a decision.
Yeah.
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have a resolution for council's consideration based on this discussion. The council directs staff to retain a qualified engineer to review the TBTE report and provide an interpretation.
Council? Councillor Costa.
But then, once we get the interpretation, what is the next step? Then she still needs to apply for,
Well,
or, no,
depending on what the interpretation is,
well, we might not need to.
things may change
Okay.
based on what that interpretation is.
Okay.
Council in favor of this, it's essentially deferring the motion, so we'd have to remove the motion that's on the floor.
So we would need the mover to agree to withdraw the motion. That would be Councilor Van Ridden.
Councilor Brown Data has agreed to withdraw the motion. For the record, yes. Yeah, so
And then we would need a mover and seconder for the new motion.
and can we expedite that?
Well, we will do our best to find an engineer who will be able to expedite the review of the report.
We don't have to bring it back to council for approval to award this contract.
I suspect it'll be within my approval level.
Very good. So is there a mover for the motion on the floor that council directs staff to retain an engineer to review the TBT engineering report? It's specifically the items in question. Sorry, there was a mover, Councilor Negro, seconded by Councilor Cassidy. Any final discussion here? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on, I wonder if we should, it's 7:05, is anybody, get a short break or should we just? Short break? Short break. No, we're good, all right, well, 7.3. Limitation of traffic and parking control bylaw number 01-26. Award a contract regarding pedestrian crossovers, implementation of bylaws, sign inventory and asset management. The council awards the contract regarding the design and implementation of the new pedestrian crossovers and assessment of existing pedestrian crossovers to TY Lin International Canada Incorporated in the amount of $49,600 plus HST. And further, the council awards the contract regarding a sign assessment framework, inventory and sign asset management plan to Advantage Data Collection in the amount of $42,200 plus HST. And further, the council authorizes and directs staff to transfer $91,800 from the roads reserve to fund the required projects. Moved by Van Breda, second by Councillor Timpson. Discussion, Councillor Van Breda, second.
My only question is that, so these are the two crossovers, one on Front and Fifth and Front and Fourth, right? Thank you.
No,
Councillor Timpson is next, sir. Councillor.
Thank you, yeah. Slight diversion here, but with the removal of the parking at the beach, we've created a lot more cars across the road, and it was fairly evident during Blueberry Festival that it was very difficult. A lot of people trying to cross Wellington at the same time, and the traffic really was very busy, and there were quite a lot of people. And I'm thinking we need to be rethinking. Possibly we're going to need some sort of a crossing there at that point, or to have some sort of provision when we have Blueberry Festival or big things happening there that there is a crossing guard or somebody.
One of the kind of reverse because it's a crossing to a parking lot that we don't control with no sidewalks on that side. I suppose if we maybe we would put a sidewalk on that side with staff, it comes.
Through Mayor Lawrence, yeah, I think, I think it's a question of time as to how long CN is going to permit the community to continue to park on their property. I would suggest a different method whereby we actively encourage people to start parking at the Red Apple and providing a shuttle service if necessary or something like that, because, sorry, not the Red Apple, at a municipal parking lot on Front Street adjacent to the Red Apple. I think that would be a better approach because, as the mayor said, we can't have a crosswalk to nothing. And so I think that, we shouldn't be encouraging people to park on private property, which is what has happened for years. But I have heard from CN and that may be changing in the future. So.
maybe we need to bring back our parking bylaw quicker than we thought, and maybe replace those parking spots that we. I know, because it didn't seem to play out well, like you said, those parking spots seemed to be very. Like the Blueberry Festival made it very obvious that, they shouldn't be going into the residential, but those spots that were there that were blocking off really had a huge impact in a negative way during the festival.
I would just argue that I think there was only half a dozen to 10 trucks that could park there sensibly. That's the impact.
But if the CN takes away the other spots, those spots are going to be very valuable. Yeah.
Well, so staff are looking at other options for that area. One of the things we've heard from the public is it would be really helpful to have a drop off and turnaround area there, so they could just let people out and then go park elsewhere. So that is one of the options that we're investigating for next year.
Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, the other issue is too, there's only two handicap parking spots, and for somebody who has difficulty walking, even trying to cross that road would be very difficult. And I think they're going to have to increase the handicap spots right there at the front.
So related,
Oh, I know, we're off
I'm wondering about staff is looking at the parking and the traffic situation there. Do you need a direction from council that, no, you're on that already, okay, yeah, so that's. We'll come back at some point with the report and suggestion. Hopefully in time to implement something for next year. That's the
Yes,
plan.
we hope to have something first quarter.
Thank you. So back to the 7.3. I think Councilor Costco, you had your hand up? No? Okay, thanks. Anything further? And all in favor? Carried, thank you. 7.4. Council authorizes direct staff, sorry, at the end of 7.3. Let's start again. 7.4, creation of Sioux Community Beautification Committee. Notice of motion submitted to council July 15th, 2026 by Councilor Costco, mover Councilor Joan Costco. Whereas council recognizes the importance of maintaining an attractive, welcoming, and vibrant community for residents, businesses, and visitors. And whereas community beautification contributes to civic pride, economic development, tourism, and overall quality of life. And whereas the municipality wishes to encourage community involvement in enhancing public spaces and improving the visual appeal of Sioux Lookout, therefore be it resolved that council establish a community beautification committee to identify, promote, and recommend initiatives that enhance the appearance and attractiveness of the municipality. Be it further resolved that the committee shall, one, identify opportunities to improve the visual appearance of municipal properties and public spaces and community gateways. Two, promote beautification projects such as landscaping, flower planting, public art, community cleanup initiatives, and seasonal decorations. Three, encourage partnerships with community organizations, businesses, schools, indigenous partners, and volunteers. Four, explore funding opportunities, grants, sponsorships, and donations to support beautification projects. Five, develop recommendations and priorities for beautification initiatives and present them to council. And six, foster civic pride by encouraging community participation in maintaining and enhancing the appearance of Sioux Lookout. Be it further resolved that the committee shall consist of council representatives, municipal staff, and committee members appointed by council. Moved by Councilor Costco, seconded by Councilor Van Breda. Discussion. Councilor Timpson.
Yeah, I fully support this, but I do think that there needs to be some coordination with the Environment Committee, which is in the process of trying to establish adopt a block for cleaning up litter.
Notes are taken by staff, so when the committee is for. Councilor Van Breda.
We can also add the branding committee of the mat tax too. I think that'd be good to have them on board as well, right?
Through Mayor Lawrence, I would recommend that we not appoint a committee to a committee. I think we appoint individuals to a committee, which is our typical process.
Part of the terms of reference might be to consult with.
I suspect that this committee is going to swallow up that committee, to be honest.
Councilor Cassidy.
I guess my question comes down to, and it's with both of these, and I think there's, don't get me wrong, I think there's value in how we're doing it or what we want to do here. I guess my question is how we go about it. We did get rid of a Parks and Rec committee, which kind of would encompass some of this. We have a community improvement plan that really helps support people that want to do the initiative on their own private property as well. I guess I'm just struggling with how it would integrate with some of these other stuff. We have a rec center that puts a lot of time into our parks to keep them clean and upgraded as well. I guess my question would be, is there going to be crossover? Is it the committee going to try and be dictating what Parks and Rec staff do? Is it going to how would that balance with what their objectives are in the work planning versus some, maybe some of the initiatives these communities take on? And I do recognize we did go through an exercise where there's a lot of committees we didn't have uptake for, and we did get rid of quite a few committees. So I guess that's just kind of the question and the notion with that is a little more how. I would kind of like to understand maybe a little more of the mandate dialed down with probably some more discussion with staff on integration and kind of where the scope would lie. Is it going to be integrated? Are you going to work with the Chamber of Commerce, the businesses, or is it on their private property? Is it just for town property? Those are just a few questions I had. So.
I support this. I think there's a real appetite in the community for something like this, and I think over the course of my several years in this year, people have periodically come to me with ideas for beautification. And they're not the kind of idea that would come from staff. They're kind of ideas that I think are organic, come from the community. And I don't think we should, I think we have a set of, what are we calling these, objectives, or, I mean, it's an outline to get us started. The development of the terms of reference could address some of these concerns, and then council will still have to approve this council or the next council, whatever, they approve the term. Can we establish it in the term of this council, or is there time? And then appointments be made by the new council. Anyway, Councillor Cost.
You sort of look what happened in the last month here prior to Blueberry, where a group of people decided that Blueberry's coming, it would be a really positive thing if, Public Works can't do everything, with a limited resources. So why don't we, as a community, jump in and help? And an individual collaborated that, but a municipal committee could be the collaborator and work with. It was Blueberry, Rotary, just random volunteers, and the chamber. And I mean, you look the difference that they made at that information center in like a short period of time with the assistance of the town, because I mean, the volunteers created a refuge pile in the town. It was substantial for them to take that away. And same with doing the park, because Reese was there the whole time and I went to one of them. Like, it was amazing, like these people out there, and you're there and they have all these ideas. And even last year, we got such negative feedback about Christmas. Well, people have hundreds of ideas. And if we could collaborate, a group of people and a group of businesses like Hudson, like when we went out to the Hudson meeting, they had decorated like with lit Christmas trees all down their main street. They just on their own as a group, those, and like Mayor Lawrence said, there is such an appetite for this right now. And people want to do things and they want to see a difference and they want to see our town being cute. I just think that this is a path where someone can collaborate. And even like you think right now, as a business owner downtown, you need your little lot cleaned, but how do you hire someone? So, I'm going to pay you $80 a week. Who do you get? But if those businesses got collaborated together and through the beautification committee and all chipped in, you could hire one person to whippersnip Front Street instead of each person trying to find one person to whippersnip the drugstore, whippersnip someone else, whippersnipping down here, like where it could just be one person. There's so much you could do and like there was a committee in the past and they did some epic work. Like the year they had all the pots on Front Street and did all the, had everyone fix up their buildings and got everything nice and neat. And even like recently, there was a post just saying, where's the community pride? Why aren't these business owners out doing this? If you had a campaign or a project or something to work towards, I think you could really make a difference with the committee. And there's so many people interested, so.
Competition.
Yes.
Yeah, does anyone know if that organization, Communities in Bloom, still exists?
Because they're doing
It still exists.
Yeah, Kenmore's in it, I think.
I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
yeah. We raised it a few years ago and for whatever reason, we didn't go in. I think it's through the Miss FCM, isn't it, or something? Okay,
Yeah.
they know about that. No, I totally agree with Councillor Costco.
So, Council, CEO, what would be the process from here if this is passed?
So the next step, staff will develop terms of reference based on the guidance in the motion, and then bring that back to council for review, consideration, and adoption. Once the terms of reference are adopted, then we will advertise for volunteers and look at appointments. And those are the next steps.
The discussion at the table will be taken into account for the terms of reference.
Absolutely.
The
Yep.
consultation with other. We're not, it doesn't seem to make any sense to be appointing people in this term of council. By the time we get there, you're appointing them in 4 weeks. I don't even think there'd be time for me. So it will fall to the next council term to
Right.
in the usual process of getting committees, but it would be ready.
And timing wise, that works out really well because we'll be advertising for all of our committees this fall and moving into the winter season. So this is it's a good time to do that advertising and call for volunteers.
So council, anything else before I call the vote? All in favor? Carried. 7.5, creation of Philadelphia Museum Committee. Notice of motion submitted to council July 15, 2026 by Councillor Joan Cosco, mover Councillor Cosco. I guess that's for the record. I still have to have a mover for the, or is Councillor Cosco, this is, okay. Good. Wasn't sure on the process. Usually we put the motion on the floor and then get a mover, but this is.
But because we got the move last month.
Very good. Whereas the municipality recognizes the historical, cultural, and educational value of artifacts and collections formerly housed in the Sioux Museum, and whereas the municipality wishes to preserve, protect, and promote these artifacts for the benefit of residents and visitors, and whereas opportunities may exist to display museum artifacts throughout the community in public facilities, educational institutions, cultural centers, and other appropriate locations, therefore be it resolved that council establish a museum committee to review the inventory of artifacts and collections from the former Sioux Museum and make recommendations regarding their preservation, display, and use within the community. Be it further resolved that the committee shall, 1, review and assess the current museum collection and its condition. 2, explore opportunities to display artifacts in municipal facilities and other suitable community locations. 3, consult with local organizations, Indigenous partners, historical groups, and community members regarding the preservation and interpretation of the artifacts. 4, develop recommendations for the long-term management and accessibility of the collection. And 5, report its findings and recommendations to council. Be it further resolved that the committee shall consist of council representatives, municipal staff, and community members appointed by council. We have a mover. Is there a second? Councilor Van Breda, discussion, council.
I lifted this one. I was kind of under the same premise as the other one, so I'm okay with this one coming back in terms of reference.
Councilor Simpson.
Yeah, I'm in favor of this. I think great coordination with the library will be really important. There are the two people left on the archive committee presented to the library board last week, so there is interest there, and I think they would love it if there was some revival.
And
Councilor
I don't know whether people realize, but in the basement of the library, all of the cabinets are there. We as TRC did buy our own cabinet, which is exactly the same as the cabinet that actually was in the basement. And the TRC has already relocated 3 cabinets. So we've done 2 cabinets at the airport, one of which was donated to us and one of which we purchased. And we also worked with the library, and we have an outfit in the library, which is truly spectacular. And through that outfit, we did some research and we've acquired a piece of a document that we don't own the legal rights to. So Brian's working on that, but which could really be so important to this area. So I think it's really important that we have a museum. And I think that I'm not proposing we have an actual museum. I'm proposing that this is a working committee that goes through the archives in the basement. Some of them are amazing, and creates cabinets, and those cabinets are moved throughout the community to the hospital, to the airport, to the schools, and get that stuff out of the basement and get it out there. And like you said, there are people, we've done this in the past, who are familiar with this. Like even some of the things like, have a day where people can go into an area and read the bulletins. All of the bulletins are there from way back when, and they're fascinating. So there's so many things that can be done to enrich the community using the resources that we already have there. And even like when you go into that space, like it was designed to be finished. Like there's windows built into the walls. The space is 3/4 finished. Like it would not really, if you had a group of people working, like with limited amount of funding, you could create a really positive space in there that could be something valuable to our community.
Okay. Councilor Casson.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like in the previous term, there was similar approach was talked about or discussed, but I think it never took momentum or it didn't go anywhere. So yeah, I think it's the right approach. It's to share the wealth around the town and promote it. Yeah.
Councillor Timpson.
I was just gonna check, where'd all the artifacts documented digitally?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few mirror ones, yes. We have the entire collection, yeah, it has been digitized. We have photographs of every item and whatever information we had about that item is in there as well.
Yeah, but it is very hard to work with because when the TRC first started out, that's what Brian gave us, and our TRC came into this room and we looked at the
Yeah.
computer and we tried to identify items. And then we sent the staff to try to locate those items. It was very difficult. So the second time we did it, we let the staff just choose for themselves and come with appropriate items because it's very difficult to match the hundreds of numbers and words to the actual document, the actual item, right? And some of the items, like from the radar base, like there's the actual radar base equipment, some of it is actually there, which I'm sure there's people in this community who would love to be able to touch and, and experience, so there's some interesting stuff down there.
Mhm.
Councillor Nick.
Maybe one day we'll just have all that digitized and make a virtual museum.
Yeah. Museums are going where new museums now are experiences where you can touch things and experience them, and take pictures with them. Yeah.
Anything further, Council? And I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. And sorry, same process as the.
Yes.
Very good. We're on to, I think, bylaws. You'll help me. Thank you.
Female ones, yes. So, number of bylaws for council's consideration and the 3 readings and passing. The first one is bylaw number bylaw number 4526, being a bylaw to amend the official plan for corporation of the municipality of Sioux as amended. Bylaw 46-26, being a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux, and those are both related to the 96 98th Street in Hudson, the SLAM application. Then we have a bylaw number 47-26, being the bylaw to amend the corporation of the municipality of Sioux comprehensive zoning bylaw as amended. This is related to the 25 Fair Street zoning bylaw amendment application. Next is bylaw number 48-26. Being a bylaw to amend the corporation of the municipality of Sioux comprehensive zoning bylaw as amended. And this one is respecting the 604, I believe, Drayton Road, yes. And finally, we have 48-26, being by law to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw of the corporation of municipality of Sioux as amended. And this is relating to 60 and 62 7th Avenue to enable the construction of the duplex.
You said 48 twice. Is this 49 now?
49. My apologies. There we go. Just wanted to squeeze 2 in one. And finally, bylaw number 53-26, being a bylaw to regulate the use of fireworks within the municipality of Sioux.
Thank you. And the bylaws 45-26, 46-26, 47-26, 48-26, 49-26, and 53-26. Be read first, second, and third time and passed. Move on. Mr. Van Breda, seconded by Councillor Costco. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor reports. Councillor Van Breda.
Thank you. Past month, so I attended the special council meeting on the 23rd. I did have to miss the Hydro meeting on earlier that day. Pretty busy month with the 44th annual Blueberry Festival. Thank you, Mayor, for your words at the start of the meeting. We had 118 events this year. We had 4 more than last year. It was a pretty busy 10 days, but I think it went off pretty well. I think we're already gearing up for next year's 45th Blueberry Festival. Also in the month, so I met with a few of the Hudson residents about the vacant homes and the property standards. That's my question to the CEO is.
This isn't a time to, you're reporting on your, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, the questions and comments
Yeah,
from members of council.
We're not introducing new items to the.
no, it's just,
You're putting staff, it makes it awkward for staff when you bring up questions they haven't prepared answers for. They don't know, they may not know.
I reminded the Hudson residents about the motion being passed to the staff report to come back to council about the vacant home registry and tax. Also, yesterday I met with a resident on Lakeshore Drive about a public works issue. And also early this week, I was with the mayor at the MRI commissioning celebration at the hospital. Very excited about the future of healthcare in our region and at our hospital. The MRI looks great. The new area where it's going to be looks great too. I think that this is a positive step forward for our hospital. This is a positive step forward for the region. And I'm excited for it to be opened in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Timpson.
I attended the 2 special the hydro meeting and then the special meeting. And then the rest of the month has been fairly quiet other than working with Councillor Costco and Councillor Angela in planning a event that we held last night in to encourage women to become involved in politics. And it was a small turnout, but it was very well received, and it was a very good event. And many thanks to Councillor Anjikanab, who was able to get Equawick to support it, sponsor it, and to Councillor Costco, who is in the wrong field. She should be an event organizer.
Yeah.
So she'll do wonderfully as the beautification counselor. Okay, thank you. That's about it.
Thank you, Councillor Timpson. Councillor Angela. There you go. Yep.
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. I attended the council meetings from last month, and the Bannock Bake Off was the event for July 31st. And the first day, of course, we had the Bannock Bake Off. We tied, and eventually when they broke the tie, we came in second place again. So we were a part of first place, yeah. Anyway, and then the expense was from the TRC committee for some of the wigs, and I think the food purchases that we needed to make the bannocks. And second, Tuesday, August 11th, the event from community to council, where I attended virtually and provided part of the workshop. And then what else here? Okay, number 3, the memorial garden has apparently been updated, and Jesse Fiddler has added art on top of the big sign or the memorial. And he's also added a couple of bears on the side, which is really neat. And I think the write-up will come about about his artwork. So it looks really nice. Number 4 has to do with the Police Services Board. We have an upcoming meeting on the 27th, and that's one of the quarterly meetings. And other than that, I've been dealing with their correspondence and press releases regarding some of the police updates from across the province. So well, I'm sure we'll be discussing some of those things, but other than that, that's my council report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson. Councilor Costa.
I zoomed into the special meeting and I missed the hydro meeting. It's hard to coordinate two Zooms in one day. The Bannock Bake Off was Darlene's idea that we would be the ropers, which was fantastic. And I'm sure the only reason that we didn't win is because that group had such a good presentation. So next year, we're going to be working on our presentation and we will be winning. Third year not winning, getting the silver spoon. The art has, as Darlene said, the art has been added to the memorial by Jesse Fiddler. If you haven't seen it, it is spectacular. It is so beautiful. It's amazing. And so take time to go to the info center and check it out. The reason he chose the Bears was at the ceremony, Dieter Sanawap and Tom Chisel played the Bear song, which is Protector's song. So that's why he chose to put the bears on there as the protector. They're the baby bears, but the mother is the protector. And then the giant feathers, which is spectacular. We did the Women in Politics retreat yesterday, which our keynote speaker was Cheryl Fort, who is the mayor of Fort Payne, and she was fantastic. If you ever get an opportunity to spend time with her, she's a pretty amazing woman. She's very amazing. And the event went over really well, and we were able to work with the Friendship Center, and our leftover food we were able to donate, and they made sandwiches today and distributed them to vulnerable people, which was lovely. The Friendship Center was fantastic to work with. The Blueberry Festival was amazing. I always make a point of spending the entire Blueberry Festival the music festival from start to finish. And I just have to say, like, that group of people, that the work they're doing in our community is for youth and everyone. It is amazing. And the time and the effort that they put in, and the talent in our community is just phenomenal. It's very phenomenal. So, and I did spend time cleaning the park on Front Street with a group of people. And it was a great activity. Like, we had fun. We got it done. It looks fantastic. The information center looks fantastic. I'm not sure who cleaned the beach on town, but with us, the municipality or volunteers. All the beach got cleaned in front of Lakeshore Drive there, like all the shrubs and stuff, all been cleaned up. That looks fantastic. Oh, and then I met with the chamber today, as we talked at a couple council meetings ago, that we would choose the locations for the airplanes. So they're trying to do 3 airplanes this year: a beaver, an otter, and a water bomber. So the locations that we have chosen, I sent Brian, and the information is at the TIC left of the Memorial Garden, and we'll clear some of the shrubs out so you can see the lake. At the MNR, so the committee will try to work with the MNR to make that happen. It will be on the town land, but by the MNR, and then at Frog Rapids, which again will clear out some of the undergrowth so you can see the lake. They sort of want the relationship with the lake and the plains as much as possible. And then they've sort of got some sites scoped out for next year, which they might have to do preliminary work this year. So we'll work with Brian to let him know. And so that was my week, my month. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Cassidy.
Yeah, for myself, the hydro shareholder meeting, as well as a special council meeting. Pace had to get postponed this month, but it will be on next week. And then I wasn't able to attend, but it was just nice to see the grand opening for the incubator program on Front Street of the Old Mayfair. That was supported through the PACE program and the business applicants. So it was nice to see the grand opening for that happened. And echoing all the other comments, great Blueberry Festival. It was really well done. So kudos to everyone.
Thank you, Councilor.
Yeah, no LCC meeting this past month, not till September. They take 2 months off in summer. And I just attended the 2 special council meetings on July 23rd and attended some events during the Blueberry Festival and entertained family.
Yeah, thank you. At the KDSB board meetings and committee meetings, the health unit executive committee and meeting, we've been meeting with Ignace and Pickle Lake as trying to get to look out a dedicated seat at the public health table. Right now, we share with Ignace and Pickle Lake, and how it's rotated is very unclear. We've had it for the last 2 or 3, 4 terms, but it's not guaranteed. So trying to have it so that we have our own seat, and then Ignace says perhaps it grows, it might have its own seat as well. Met with a group from the Salvation Army regarding some challenges they're facing, special council meetings. I've done an alpha learning program on how best to interact with provincial decision makers. It was a good informative session, especially prior to AIM. Blueberry made opening remarks at the very successful Blueberry Festival, and in those remarks, I think I concentrate on volunteerism and congratulate and that whole festival is really, certainly there are sponsors and there's municipal support, but without volunteers, whether they be the organizing committee or all the people running events, there wouldn't be a festival. So congratulations. And on that note, just special congratulations to the 2 nominees for the Jack McKenzie Award, Bob Johnson and Anne Saltel. And Anne Saltel was the winner of the Jack McKenzie Award for essentially volunteers and being recognized this year. Van Beekhoff was allowed to be part of the Roper family. What's the fellow's name?
Mr. Roper.
Mr. Roper. Yeah, Mr. Roper. Let's just say
Stanley.
Stanley Road.
Stanley. Thank you. Yes, I was Stanley Roper for a couple of hours. And honestly, the TRC team, to me, the most enthusiastic team, the most colorful team. But I do admit that winning team had a wonderful presentation. Yes.
Not.
I went to attended the GM Blueberry Pie contest as a judge. Bring blueberry pies in Sioux. Still trying to work off the weight. Attended the Pride Parade and made remarks there. And MRI ribbon cutting ceremony at the hospital just this week. A game changer really for Sioux. Various meetings with CAO and others. Met with another Ontario Liberal leadership candidate, which I will meet with any party, and I tell them ahead of time, I'm meeting with you as the mayor to inform you of Sioux opportunities and challenges. And was it last night? Women in Politics. Attended that and listened to Mayor Cheryl Fort speak. Very good speaker, and kudos for putting it on. And we'll see what comes out of it. Good morning. I think we're ready to move into closed session. The council moves into closed session at 7:43 p.m. to discuss matters of the general nature as noted below. Subject matters relating to proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality local board pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, section 239(2)(c), one item purchased in Hudson, and subject matter related to a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, section 239(k), one item, travel information center. Moved by Councilor Lego, seconded by Councilor Timpson. All in favor? Carried. We're now in closed session. We'll just take
That council, the council ratifies, direction to staff. In closed session. Respecting a purchase opportunity and travel information center.
Move by. Did you hear it? Sorry. Yeah. Council Cassidy, seconded by Councilor Breda, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And confirmatory bylaw number 5526, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the municipality of Sioux Road, August 12th, 2026. There you go. You read it first, second, and third time and passed. By Lego, seconded by Councilor Timpson, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Yep. We are adjourned. Thank you.